Hello everyone, I am Canna Greer and I am your Oregon Deca Vice President of Career Development. Today I am here with 5 Klamath Union Deca alumni who will be teaching you a little bit about role plays and what Deca actually is. Here today we have a combined 24 top 10 placers at the state competition and 5 ICDC top 10 as well. We have 2 state officers and 2 chapter presidents, so the credentials are all here.
Good job, yeah, that was good.
Now we will have the panel introduce themselves. To the left, we have
Nick O'Day. I competed in the food marketing series and restaurant and food service management, and then also did a couple of chapter project written events.
I'm Kaden Hensley. I participated in sports and entertainment marketing and auto services marketing, and I currently go to Oregon State University.
Jacob Schlott McGonigal. I participated in quick serve and hospitality and tourism team decision. I currently go to Cal Poly.
Jing Shi, I competed in food service and management, and now I am an admissions counselor at the University of Oregon.
Hunter Ellis, I competed in food marketing and team decision, and I'm currently a student at George Washington University.
All right, so for those of us that are newer to DECA, we're going to start with Nick, and he's going to answer the question of what is a DECA roleplay?
Yeah, a DECA roleplay is a real-life business scenario that you will act out one-on-one with a judge. Don't worry, there's no audience or your parents watching you do this. You have 10 minutes to prepare for the situation and acting it out as if you would have this event in real life. Depending on the event that you're in, it will range from working in a customer service capacity, trying to sell something, walking through a marketing plan or business plan, and then ultimately getting your judge to buy in. As part of the role play, you will have questions get asked to you by one or a group of judges, and then it takes about 10 minutes. So 10 minutes of prep time, or 30 if you're in a team decision, and then 10 minutes of acting out the role play one-on-one with the judge, and then you're done.
So as most of us know, first impressions are key to getting your point across correctly. Kaden has a few tips and tricks on making a good first impression when you go in to talk to the judge.
Key things for a good first impression is definitely having that strong handshake. You'll practice that a lot with your chapter. I can't stress this enough. Strong handshake is so important. Also, you want to come across with a lot of confidence, so you got to maintain that eye contact with your judge the entire time. It really just gives you off as you know what you're talking about, even if you don't. And then I always like to have a nice smile on my face because it puts you at ease and it also puts your judge at ease also, because honestly, sometimes they don't know what they're doing either. So 3 tips: handshake, eye contact, and a smile.
What I usually like to do is I first ask if I can take a seat. It's something simple, it's polite, but also make sure they remember you, because most people just sit down automatically. And then also what I like to do is I just like to restate the problem to them. I say something as you know, Mr. President or Mr. CEO, we have this problem you asked me to solve, and I'm going to present my solution today. But also try to keep that pretty short, because they've heard the same role play about 10, 20 times already, so and I don't want to waste my time that I have. I want to get to my solution, what makes me unique. So it's a quick restatement of the problem and then moving on to what I'm going to present to.
Even if you have no idea what you're doing, as long as you smile and say, "Hello, my name is Nick, great to meet you," you'll at least start off on the right foot. You can crash and burn after that.
Being remembered by the judge is very important, but there are some do's and don'ts of being remembered. Jacob, what do you have to say about that?
So it's really important when you get in there that you get a really good connection with the judge. The best way to do that is just to be yourself. A big thing you remember is the first impression, the last impression are the 2 things the judges will remember most. So when you get in there, you really need a good, strong introduction, like we talked to Kaden here, and then we'll talk about conclusion in a little bit, but you want to make sure you have a really solid conclusion so they're able to remember you from that. Big things not to do, make sure you're taking it serious. If you go in there and you're like kind of haphazardly, like have your legs crossed, like, yeah, I mean, we could do this, like, they're not going to score you well. This is a serious professional manner, and you want to make sure you're taking it serious.
Yeah, absolutely. Along those lines, you also want to be professional, but also be personable. Remember, it's a professional role play, and you're presenting professional subject material, but also if you're not personable and you're just a stiff plank, they're not going to remember, you're not going to like you. Another key thing to remember is they are also volunteers. They're volunteering their time. They chose to be here today, so they want to be here. They want to help you do well. So also respect their time, respect them as an individual, because they also probably are a very senior person in their field. So treat them with respect, but be personal, and they will remember you and hopefully give you a good score.
Every roleplay has roles involved. How do you know who you are and who the judge is?
You're either the judge or you're the participant, and in this case, you're the participant. And don't worry about what that role is. You'll get to know when you walk into the role play. It's usually on top of the paper you get to read. And if you have more than one judge, just address them equally and making sure that you have that eye contact equally, talk to them equally, because usually they're equal partners.
Every roleplay has performance indicators that you have to answer. What are the basics of a roleplay, and how do you know when you've covered everything you needed to?
Yeah, so when you're doing a role play, the one thing that's really nice about Deca role plays is they don't try to make you guess. They tell you exactly who you are, who the judge is, and the 5 things that you have to cover or performance indicators. When I start a role play, at minimum, after I do the intros, we have all that great first 7 seconds of content. The one thing I do is I create an agenda and I say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Judge, here are, because we only have 10 minutes, the 5 things I'm going to talk about today. Those 5 things are my performance indicators. If you're a freshman or a brand new Deca member and you have 5 performance indicators, but you don't know what 2 or 3 of them might be, you should still address them at the very beginning of your role play. Even if it's just saying, we're gonna talk about these 5 things, and then one just maybe falling through the cracks, that's okay. Because when your judge goes back and scores your role play, they want to know, did we talk about these 5 things? You don't wanna make them guess. If you do end up making them guess, they are likely going to give you a lower score because it was more difficult for them to remember. If any other thing, one final piece of advice, if you get a performance indicator like explain the nature and scope of pricing as part of the marketing function, and you have no idea what that means because it's your first competition, just say, well, the nature and scope of pricing in part of the marketing plan is important because it adjusts what people are going to pay for it. And that's all you have to say, and that's okay.
Okay, I know what a role play is now, but I'm still really nervous. How do I get over this fear of talking to my judge and being okay with what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that's completely rational. Even your first year of Deca, every time you go into roleplay, you're gonna be nervous and you're gonna be scared, and just know that's the process, okay? The best way to get over that nervousness is to know that it's a conversation between you and another person, okay? Don't think it as, you're presenting to this boss. If you screw up, you're probably never gonna see this judge again. Like, most likely you never will. So if it goes bad, so well. If it goes great, that's awesome. Big thing to remember is the conversation you have between 2 people. If you feel like your judge doesn't like you, a lot of judges will just sit there, like straight face, no emotion, and that's totally okay. They could score you really high, they could score you really low. Some judges will be like, oh, laughing the entire time and score you really low. Whatever emotion the judge gives you has no effect on what your score is gonna be, so don't let that throw you off in the process. Just know it's a conversation between you and another person.
Again, if you are interested in more resources, please make sure to check out the other videos in this series. We would like to thank all of the members of our panel for the KU Deca alumni. Good luck, members, and good night. Hello everyone, I am Canna Greer and I am your Oregon Deca Vice President of Career Development. Today I am here with 5 Klamath Union Deca alumni who will be teaching you a little bit about role plays and what Deca actually is. Here today we have a combined 24 top 10 placers at the state competition and 5 ICDC top 10 as well. We have 2 state officers and 2 chapter presidents, so the credentials are all here.
Good job. Yeah, that was good.
Now we will have the panel introduce themselves. To the left, we have
Nick O'Day. I competed in the food marketing series and restaurant and food service management, and then also did a couple of chapter project written events.
I'm Kaden Hensley. I participated in sports and entertainment marketing and auto services marketing, and I currently go to Oregon State University.
Jacob Schlott McGonigal. I participated in quick serve and hospitality and tourism team decision. I currently go to Cal Poly.
Jing Shi, I competed in food service and management, and now I am an admissions counselor at the University of Oregon.
Hunter Ellis, I competed in food marketing and team decision, and I'm currently a student at George Washington University.
As a Deca member, I've always heard that being creative is one of the most important pieces of being remembered. What does that look like? How can you make sure that your ideas are creative enough?
Right, so there's a couple things you can do. The most important item to remember is that creativity is whatever you make of it. So everyone has always done something before. So if you try to come to something new and unique, then that'll help you be remembered even more. One aspect I like to use a lot was PowerPoint slides. I would take all my sheets of paper and I'd fold them up in a tent like this and put them under here. That way the judge had a visual look at, because if I was just reading off of paper, I felt like it wasn't as nearly as engaging as if the judge had something to look at, and also made me look a little bit more prepared, a little bit more professional. When I made these slides, I always like to put the title at the top, so just, marketing plan for whatever your role play is. And then I'd always put the performance indicators word for word just to reinforce that I did actually talk about them. And then just 2 to 3 bullet points about whatever that slide pertains to. If it's your performance indicator, try to hit those keywords, or you could draw a picture, a graph, whatever you want it to be. A lesson learned, always number your slides because that 10 minutes is rushed. So they might get out of order, which is fine, but if you don't know they're out of order and you're going through your slides and your role play, you don't look very intelligent if you talk about one thing and slide something else. So always number your slides if you choose to do this method. That way, if you do somehow get them out of order, you can improvise and go with it.
Another way to be really creative is use props. I mean, you get so many pieces of papers that you can have, right? So it depends on what role play that you have. If you are in food and management, you might want to create a menu. If you are doing a promotion, you might want to do a brochure. If you have never met this person and you want to leave them a business card, you can make a business card. But if this is your CEO, they've met you, you don't want to leave a business card.
Another way you can stand out, kind of show how you're apart from the other competition, is ROI, which is return on investment, which is like budget, and then timeline. So basically, if you budget things out, a lot of people aren't going to do that. So if you talk about, in the beginning, you're going to talk about what you're going to do to solve the problem, for example. But if you go above and beyond and tell you how much money this is going to take, and how long it's going to take, and how much money they're going to make, those are like the steps that are really going to set you apart from the other competition.
Another thing that I like to do when I was doing Deca is I like to do a jingle or a slogan for my company that I'm representing that really sets you apart, especially if you do it with a lot of confidence and you kind of embrace it. It's a little goofy, but they're definitely going to remember you for it. Plus, it's a major power move. You go in there and you do a slogan and you sing a little bit, everyone looks at you and you just look at them, give them a little nod, maybe a wink. I mean, it will work. People are gonna remember you. Other judges are gonna be like, dang, that girl knows what she's doing. And maybe you don't, but you have the confidence, so just embrace it. Just be goofy, go with it. It's definitely gonna help you get remembered. An example of a fun jingle could be, "We are Deca."
Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Embrace it.
So one thing you may have noticed about all of the props here is that they're all very generic. Hunter and Jing aren't exactly artists when you look at their props. It's a lot of stick figures and scribble. And your judge, again, only knows that you have 10 minutes for prep or 30 minutes if you're in a team decision. The important thing is that you're able to leverage those props and actually make them an effective part of your role play. They're not going to sit there and give you a lower score because you can't draw something properly. I mean, if you misspell the word marketing, they'll probably call you out on that. But the important thing here is that these are just some examples of things that have worked in the past. Ultimately, if you have something that you think would be a great idea, go ahead and do it. One of the important things here is that a lot of these ideas will work in a role play and have in the past for a lot of us, but that doesn't come without practice. If you have what you think is a great idea, go ahead and shoot your shot, take a chance. But the important thing is try to practice it beforehand. So for a lot of these slides and the way that we think our brochures are going to look are things that we practiced ahead of time. For example, Caden may have written a jingle that she spent 6 weeks between state and ICDC preparing, and the judge doesn't know that. The judge only thinks that you have those 10 minutes of time. But if you have like 3 or 4 jingles and a SoundCloud channel and your own Spotify playlist of things you want to do in a Deca roleplay, go ahead and use them. Your judge won't know otherwise, but you'll come off as more polished, prepared, and respectful of their time.
Everybody wants to use social media when it comes to promotion in a role play. But how do you actually use social media? How do you make using social media as a promotion stand out in a role play?
Well, everyone's going to say, we're going to use Twitter, we're going to use Facebook, Instagram, but how are you going to use it? Your judge has heard that many, many times. So for you to make them remember who you are is showing them how. So for Twitter or Instagram, you want to exactly know how long is this schedule going to be? How long is it going to run? Maybe you want to set up something that automatically posts every other day. So it really depends on who your audience is also. So using the right kind of platform really depends on who your audiences are. If they don't use Twitter, don't use Twitter. So that really depends on it.
Mm-hmm. Another big thing to add too is you guys out there watching this video is you're probably more in tune with social media than even we are. You're going to be as more in tune as you are watching this video as it gets older and older. And don't be afraid to like step out of the comfort box. Like I know, for example, on my Nationals role play, we talked about using a social media influencer to market one of our hotels. Like think outside the box and be creative because social media is kind of like limitless at this point. Like it keeps going out. There's new things coming out, new trends. Follow the trends, work with them, and just be creative.
Now that we know what a role play is, how do we know what to study for it? What can we study for a role play?
So how to prepare for a role play is actually a really important question, and a lot of kids really don't know how to do that. So this booklet right here, they're called The Competitive Edge. Your advisor will probably have them, or you can always look them up online. This is a paperback book, so get used to it. So this is gonna be the gold at the end of the rainbow. It's really awesome. It has all the vocabulary that you're gonna want to hit for your role play section. Like we said earlier, your judges are just volunteers, so they're looking for those key words, and this is gonna help you learn it. This also has all your performance indicators that might be in your role play section. So find this online. It'll help you so much. Read it cover to cover, and you will have a really good chance of placing.
On top of the written materials, I think there's no replacement for also just doing a role play with your advisor or someone who's done it before. You can study all the written material all you want, you can memorize performance indicators, but if you get up and you freeze because you don't know how to speak or you're not used to using your props or whatever it may be, then you're not going to do as well even if you know your material. So just actually going through the motions and presenting it over and over until it's repetitive and easy for you, then that will also significantly help you prepare for your role play.
So another thing aside from Competitive Edge, not a paid ad, or doing practice for role plays, especially if you're an upperclassman or a first-year Deca member and you've had job experience, rely on that. So when I worked or when I competed in restaurant and food service management, I also worked at a restaurant my junior and senior year of high school. So it was really easy for me to call on real life experiences. Again, a role play is supposed to be reenacting a real life experience. So if you're at a restaurant and you are supposed to be a server dealing with a customer, you've probably done that before. Aside from that, if you really want to get on the technical side of things and stay up on industry trends, just do a quick Google search. Or if you work for Microsoft, do a Bing search. But beyond that, it's just a matter of practice, again, reading the resources, but also going on the Deca website and taking advantage of the resources they have there, because those are always current for this year's event and list out every single performance indicator that would exist for your event. You're not going to get surprised by something that they have never put out content for.
Again, if you are interested in more resources, please make sure to check out the other videos in this series. We would like to thank all of the members of our panel for the KU Deca alumni. Good luck, members, and good night. Hello everyone, I am Canna Greer and I am your Oregon Deca Vice President of Career Development. Today I am here with 5 Klamath Union Deca alumni who will be teaching you a little bit about role plays and what Deca actually is. Here today we have a combined 24 top 10 placers at the state competition and 5 ICDC top 10 as well. We have 2 state officers and 2 chapter presidents, so the credentials are all here.
Good job, yeah, that was good.
Now we will have the panel introduce themselves. To the left, we have
Nick O'Day. I competed in the food marketing series and restaurant and food service management, and then also did a couple of chapter project written events.
I'm Kaden Hensley. I participated in sports and entertainment marketing and auto services marketing, and I currently go to Oregon State University.
Jacob Schlott McGonigal. I participated in quick serve and hospitality and tourism team decision. I currently go to Cal Poly.
Jing Shi, I competed in food service and management, and now I am an admissions counselor at the University of Oregon.
Hunter Ellis, I competed in food marketing and team decision, and I'm currently a student at George Washington University.
all of you guys are graduated Deca members now. What are some of your favorite and not favorite stories from role playing?
I mean, for me, I think that one of my favorite test experiences was at Nationals, because it was the first test I actually stayed awake for the entire thing. And believe it or not, I scored 7 points higher because of it. So I really recommend getting your sleep and, you know, just being ready to stay awake for the entire 100-question test.
Okay.
Straight up.
Yeah, no, taking the whole test is really helpful. So my favorite Deca memory was my senior year. I had gone in and we had 2 role plays at the state level. I did my first role play. I thought I crushed it. And then we go in for my second role play and the person running the event pulls me off to the side and says, "Hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but you can't role play right now. You're too loud and it distracts everybody else. So you're gonna have to wait until the very end of the event and role play by yourself in an empty room," which is terrifying. Yeah, so the most embarrassing story I ever had was my junior year at Areas, and I did a role play, and we had to talk about something like shoplifting, and I looked my judge right in the eyes and said that shoplifting was a federal offense. And my judge really wanted to help me and correct me, and she goes, "Really? A federal offense for stealing a pack of gum?" And you betcha. Yep, sure was.
Confidence is key.
Yeah, confidence is key. Really fake it till you make it. I was going for it. I knew I was wrong, but I couldn't think of the word. The answer is a misdemeanor or a felony, also known as not that big of a deal, and not a federal offense. Did I know that? No. Did my judge know that? Absolutely. What do you guys got?
One of my favorite memories was presenting my manual at Nationals. Some background, the manual is about teaching kids life skills that they couldn't learn in a classroom, so like entrepreneurship skills basically. So my whole shtick was I'd walk in and I would send my stand for my trifold just flying, and I'd go, yeah, the reason how to set this up, I can read about how to set this up, and I can read about it online as I want. As long as if I don't practice this and actually apply my skills, I don't know how to do it. So I walked in, and it was this room that was dead silent, and they said, go. I turned around, I smacked that a bit harder than I intended to. It didn't fall over, it flew back, and almost hit the guy presenting behind me. Made him stop his role play, and my judge was like, what the hell is this kid doing? And she's like, I was like, I'm so sorry. And I went into the whole thing, and she started cracking up because she realized it was on purpose, and it wasn't actually an accident, not quite that clumsy. One of my worst memories was similar to Nick's best. I was presenting in a room with a bunch of people, and I was being so loud, everyone just stopped. Just dead silent. I was being so loud. I was with my hands. I was so obnoxious that and all the judges stopped, and looked at me, and the guy walked over. And was like, "You have to turn that down a little bit." And I was there about 8 minutes long, and I was they let me go 8 minutes past the time I was supposed to be there because I was being a bit too loud.
That's cool.
Yeah, one of my favorite Deca roleplay memories, probably at Nationals, it was our finalist one. I was in automotive services marketing, and I remember just during it, I was just like, oh, I am on a roll, I'm doing good. I had a budget, I had a timeline, I just talked about economics and the downturn of the economy. I was just going so good. I was just really, really good. I even had a jingle. That did happen. And I just remember going out of there, and I shook everyone's hand. I had 3 judges. It was a 3-1. Scariest thing. And I remember I came out of there and I had the biggest smile on my face, and my advisor was there. It was just such a rewarding time just because I just got to see him, and I was like, I think I did really good. And he would give me a big hug, and I mean, it turned out pretty well. I placed 3rd, so it was just a really cool experience just because you felt so confident in the moment, and you're kind of on this little bit of adrenaline. Probably one of the best moments. I don't have a bad moment. They're all bad. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
Lucky you.
No, I've had some bad ones. It's just like they're not that bad. They're not that or that bad.
At least Ellis was happy.
I don't know if I have a specific memory that I really, really like. One specific one. My favorite thing when I would get out of role play, it's knowing that I nailed those performance indicators. Like when Kaden was talking about those brochures, really study them because at times you'll have exactly what you're looking in there, and then you're like, oh my God, I studied the right thing. I talked about it, I nailed it, and it's just such a good feeling when you walk out of it.
Yeah, I mean, the best feeling for me in high school Deca was probably winning state because it was such a cool experience, and it was wasn't the event I was expecting to go to nationals in. Me and my team decision ended up winning. It was so cool, but also kind of really funny because afterwards on the bus we got our scores back, and it was 94 or whatever. But the comment on the back was Jacob. Really good eye contact, really good speaking, very confident. Information, not all correct. But I believed every word. That summed up pretty much my Deca experience.
Now that you all are grown and Deca alumni, in the real world, as they call it, what can you say that you've taken from Deca, and how have you used it in your life today?
Yeah, so the biggest thing in terms of real world prep was that I was less nervous about having impromptu meetings. So Deca role plays are, hey, you have 10 minutes or 30 minutes to talk about these 5 things. In the real world, at my job today, I will get 15 minutes notice from my manager or their boss and say, hey, we need you to talk about and give us an update on these 5 or 6 things, and we have a meeting in 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And you're gonna have to talk for 3 minutes about this subject. I have enough confidence in my ability to do that because I was a Deca member, because I was able to say, oh yeah, I've done this hundreds of times as part of a competition in Deca. I can at least fake it till I make it in terms of the prep side of it, and saying, oh, okay, cool, I know what I'm going to talk about and how I'm going to structure that time. I'm confident in saying, okay, cool, if we only have 10 minutes, I know what that actually feels like and how to talk about 5 things and leave room for questions and bring props or things that are important that help my manager make better decisions.
Yeah, similar to that, I compete in food marketing, and I will probably never work in the food marketing industry. But what I really learned from Deca was the communication skills. So similar to prep time, learning how to talk to a person one-on-one, because everyone can present the same information, but how you do it will really depend on what your personality is, and how you do it will also affect whether or not they remember it, and if they take it in. So communication skills are key. It's a big thing I learned, and also just how to talk to someone one-on-one. It's actually a surprisingly hard skill to learn to do it well, because there's a difference between a formal speech versus an informal conversation. Find the right balance to get your point across and to do it clearly is very difficult to do it properly, and that was the biggest thing I learned from Deca.
I was a business major in college, and being in DECA definitely helped me a lot when it comes to working in groups, working in public speaking. And so even now, like at my job, I'm so comfortable talking to people because I was in DECA. I meet with people every day. I'm probably never gonna see them again, just like in DECA, right? But it's those moments that you just kind of learn, like, how do you talk to people? How do you you're talking to them as a person first, and so it's just like one of those things that you just take.
Yeah, I feel like DECA definitely taught me that you don't have to be a great test taker to be good at something. Knowing the knowledge and spitting onto paper is so much different than, like everyone said, being able to talk to someone. I think it really just taught me how to interact with people and how to have that professional aspect of it when it comes to being, for my example, in college. Also, I feel like DECA definitely pushed me towards my degree that I'm aiming for right now. I'm a marketing major, and so I would not have found that unless I did DECA and learned so much about how cool marketing is and how complex it can be. So that's definitely what I took from it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing Deca gave me is it gives you experience talking to people. And I think the biggest thing, you can't learn this with going to school, anything that is experience. Experience is better than anything you're gonna learn on paper, as Caden was saying. So having that experience talking to someone, like a one-on-one interaction or one-on-two, or just getting experience to coherently get out your ideas so people are able to understand it, and you learn how to persuade people, you learn how to inform them, you learn how to just talk to them. And I think that experience leads to confidence in the real world, whether it be interaction with your parents, arguing how much later you can stay out, curfew, whether it be getting a job, whether it be getting a raise. It just gives you the experience, gives you the confidence you need to be successful.
Again, if you are interested in more resources, please make sure to check out the other videos in this series. We would like to thank all of the members of our panel for the KU DECA alumni. Good luck, members, and good night.
Is a real life business scenario that you will act out one-on-one with a judge. Don't worry, there's no audience or your parents watching you do this. You have 10 minutes to prepare for the situation and acting it out as if you would have this event in real life. Depending on the event that you're in, it will range from working in a customer service capacity, trying to sell something, walking through a marketing plan or business plan, and then ultimately getting your judge to buy in. As part of the role play, you will have questions get asked to you by one or a group of judges, and then it takes about 10 minutes. So 10 minutes of prep time, or 30 if you're in a team decision, and then 10 minutes of acting out the role play one-on-one
admissions counselor at the University of Oregon.
Hunter Ellis, I competed in food marketing and team decision, and I'm currently a student at George Washington University. All right.